Harrison Graham, James Yoder here on College Football Now. The college football playoff is set, and we are breaking down the primetime game of the number 2 seeded Clemson Tigers and the number 3 seed Ohio State Buckeyes. The stage is set, James. This one will be at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, the night game, 8 p.m. Eastern Time rematch of last year's semifinal.
Yeah, as we're filming this here, just moments after the college football playoff rankings were announced, we don't know yet if there'll be fans allowed in either one of the games. My assumption is that Alabama was given the choice. They wanted to play in Dallas because they wanted to have fans present at the game, where if you think about the political nature of both cities right now, New Orleans, more shutdowns, more lockdowns, where the Cowboys have been playing with 15, 20,000 fans, played with fans in the stands yesterday for the Big 12 championship game. Maybe that's why Alabama chose that game versus a game that doesn't have fans. So this game will be played in New Orleans at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and Clemson, surprising to me, is a 6.5-point favorite. Maybe it shouldn't be surprising, but I was surprised it was that big because last year it was like 1-2 points, and I think it turned out to be like a pick-em by the time the game came around. So I can't wait to see what happens when things happen. But this is not the first time these two teams have played. This is the third time they played in the college football playoff semifinals, and it'll be now the fourth time since January 1, 2014, the end of the 2013 season, that these two teams have played in a bowl game back-to-back years. Now, Clemson has had their number. They've got 4-0 all time. You got to go back to the late 70s to get that initial game. But 3 straight victories in the Dabo era: 2014 Orange Bowl, 2013 season, and then the CFP semis in the 2016 season where 31-0, and then last year's epic semifinal matchup.
Yeah, last year's was clearly the most impactful and important one, I guess, because in 2016 it kind of felt like going in, even that Ohio State JT Barrett wasn't playing well at that time, that they were a little outmatched. Last year we thought that was the game of the year, and it kind of ended up playing out that way, even though LSU ended up winning the national championship. So the Buckeyes looking for revenge here in the 2020 college football season. We'll break this one down a little bit deeper, James, but first we want the audience to weigh in. Who do you guys got in this one? Type CLEM for Clemson, type OSU for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think you're rolling with the Buckeyes here. I'm going with Clemson. We'll save our score predictions for later on in the video, but give me 1 or 2 reasons why you're going with the Buckeyes.
Well, there's 2, right? It's the revenge factor. I think Clemson has been on Ohio State's mind, from the fans to the coaching staff to the players, everything involved. I think they have had their minds on Clemson all year. I've been teasing Ohio State fans on the internet all year that Clemson should be their rival. And maybe they've listened, frankly. Maybe they have listened. That's number 1.
We'll find out on the first.
Sure. Number 2 is, I know what we've seen out of Clemson, out of Ohio State all year. Maybe says, oh, Clemson's played more games, et cetera, et cetera. But they lost a game to Alabama to Notre Dame, where they got shredded on the ground from Notre Dame did on Clemson. And I think what we saw from Ohio State yesterday with the two-headed monster running back, but really it's mostly Sermon from Ohio State getting 300 and some yards, is that Ohio State will be able to do what they didn't really do in the previous matchups, which is run the ball on Clemson and have an opportunity to put up 250, 300 yards on the ground, control the game, keep Trevor Lawrence off the field.
Yeah, so it should be a good one. All eyes are on these quarterbacks, James. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Lawrence could be a Heisman candidate here. I don't think he'll end up winning it, but he's had another fantastic season. The undoubted number 1 overall pick has obviously had more games than Justin Fields. But I'll say this: Fields in the Big Ten title game, he looked a little bit shaky. And then a storyline to watch is he appeared to sprain his thumb later in that game. They wrapped it up. They pretty much just started handing the ball to Trey Sermon, which is what they should have done the whole game, because Northwestern could have slowed it down. But if he's not 100%, if he can't throw the ball with velocity, that is a storyline to watch heading into this matchup.
And it's kind of interesting just to see how those 2 players, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, their careers have really been intertwined. They were the top 2 players coming out of their high school their class recruits, 1 and 2, and some said they're the best 2 quarterbacks of all time in the recruiting era, right? They had the highest ranking, some people said, who follow closer than I do. And then they both leave the states, eventually Justin Fields does, and now they're going to face each other in back-to-back college football national championships. He didn't get the Heisman race between the 2 of them, unfortunately, and then a lot of people say, okay, they'll be the top 2 picks in some drafts in the NFL draft coming up this April-May timeframe. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence wins the game. He kind of dominates Justin Fields in all aspects. The number 1 recruit, wins 2 times in the Field, and then he's going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
And maybe multiple national titles to 0 for Justin Fields.
For sure.
We will see how it plays out. Like you said, the revenge factor in more ways than one on Fields and Ohio State's minds when they tee it up on January 1st. Before we get into more aspects of this matchup, if you love college football like James and I do, look, we like the NFL and the NBA, and that's why we do a lot of those videos, because that's what our audience likes. But we want to do more college football coverage. At least I do. If you are a huge college football fan, subscribe to Chat Sports. If we get more college football subscribers, we can do more videos on college football, whether that's hot boards, recruiting information, game preview type of stuff. If we get more subs, we can plug out more videos. So hit that big red button and subscribe today and turn on your notifications so you never, ever miss a video here on Chat Sports.
Another super chat coming from Jaden Henderson. Your boy, Harrison, you got to follow this guy on Twitter or something. He said Harrison should take Joe Buck's job. He is the voice of YouTube. Harrison Graham, maybe he'll take Joe Buck's job to be the voice of all sports across the television landscape in the future. So hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much to Jaden Henderson for the super chat. Let's take a look at Travis Etienne, the running back, who seems also that he's been around for about 15 years, much like Najee Harris. But
I still can't believe he came back.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly. Although, ironically, he probably has improved his draft stock, unlike Chuba Hubbard at Oklahoma State, for example, who's plummeted. That was a bad decision. But Travis Etienne, I think, could be an X-Factor type of player in this game, because I think even though Trey Sermon had the great game against Northwestern, I think Clemson has a better chance of being balanced in this game running the football than Ohio State does. They've had troubles running the ball at times before that Northwestern game. Etienne's one of the best backs in America. I think he will be a big-time game breaker in this one.
Yeah, the interesting part about this game coming up, Ohio State versus Clemson, I think is going to be who can run the ball better. Can Ohio State run the ball better than Clemson can pass it, right? Because that's what it's going to come down to. Strength versus weakness in some regard. Running has turned into Ohio State's strength in some regard, and certainly their weakness, Ohio State's, is the secondary, right? We've seen it multiple times this year. So can Clemson pass the ball? I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to throw for 400 yards to beat Ohio State.
I mean, even Peyton Ramsey, outside of the interceptions, was moving the ball on Ohio State, especially in that first half. Mm-hmm. Peyton Ramsey, Trevor Lawrence runs circles around Peyton Ramsey.
I mean, Indiana threw for 493 yards against this Ohio State team. We'll ask you guys this question: who will win the college football playoff? Here's your top 4. It should be no surprise to anybody who's been watching the show all day. Alabama will take on Notre Dame. Ohio State will take on Clemson in the college football playoff semifinals. But type it in the comments, the live chat here on YouTube, or if you're watching later, type Bama, type Clem for Clemson, OSU for Ohio State, or ND for Notre Dame. Harrison, I think it's pretty much universal right now. I don't think anybody with a sound mind other than a Clemson and Ohio State Notre Dame fan should be typing anything but Bama.
I mean, you watch the way Florida was able to score on Bama. I think Clemson can do that. They can score like Florida can. So they would have a chance in that game, in my opinion. I don't think that would be a blowout. I'm going to pick Bama, but Florida and Ole Miss, teams who can move the ball in a hurry, were able to have success against Alabama. Clemson can do that, and potentially Ohio State can as well if they can figure a couple of things out. I'm going to pick Bama, but I don't think this is just like Bama and the other teams don't have a chance. Notre Dame doesn't have a chance, but I think Clemson and Ohio State, under the right circumstances, could compete.
I think we forget how efficient Ohio State's passing game was most of this year, and of course all of last year.
Yep.
They had the most efficient passing game in America, in my opinion, in that first 4 or 5 games. With Chris Olave being out yesterday, they had to turn to the run game, and we saw Trey Sermon roll off 300-plus yards. So they could potentially do it, but I still am going with Alabama as my answer. So I'm typing in Bama in the comments. Let us know. And if you guys want to make sure to get a great Christmas present for the loved ones in your life, coworkers who like sports, or somebody who just likes sports but you can't figure out what to get them, hook them up with a gift card from Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/gift card. Let them make the decision. And if they do it Fanatics, they get awesome deals that Fanatics always has sale items, hoodies, T-shirts, jerseys, face masks, everything you want for a sports fan is there. Go to chatsports.com/gift card. Buy them a gift card. You can print it out and hand it to them, or you can email it to them on Christmas morning. They can have the code, as can be done all online. I think you can get the in-person versions like you see on screen too if you want.
If you don't really know what Fanatics is, they're basically a sports apparel site for all teams across all sports, college football. If you're an NFL fan, there's NFL gear there as well. But if you want an Alabama hoodie, a Ohio State T-shirt, whatever it is, they're going to have it, and probably on sale sale. So go to chatsports.com/gift card. Like James said, let your loved ones make the decision, because I hate shopping because I don't know what people want. So just give them a gift card. It's an easy fix for everyone involved. So Notre Dame, Alabama is the other semifinal. Want to spend a second on here because the winner of Clemson-Ohio State will obviously play the winner of Notre Dame, Alabama, and we certainly expect that to be the Crimson Tide.
I certainly expect it to be. And, you know, what I said at the start this show, not necessarily this preview of these teams, but our college football playoff show here on Sunday, is this is a year where they could have just blamed it on the coronavirus and said, you know what, Alabama, they're just going to get a bye because we're coronavirusing the rest of college football, because it's just not competitive, and there was no great option between A&M and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Both of them had gotten blown out against one of the top two teams. So this is an interesting year in that regard, where there was no other college football conference champion with one loss that you could just gift the championship to. I guess you could say USC was a one loss, but they didn't even win the conference championship game, right?
And they're not going to put a group of 5 team in. We've seen that over the years. So Cincinnati didn't have a chance in this system. So, yeah, I'm with you. Bama will win that other game, but this is the game. This is the one we all have been waiting for all year long. We didn't even know if we were going to have a season. We had it. We got through it. And now you get the rematch of Clemson and Ohio State. 6.5-point favorites. You feel like that's a little bit high for the Tigers?
I've got just got a message from known Ohio State football insider Buck Goldpants. You can follow him at Buck_Goldpants on Twitter. He said that Ohio State players are already getting to work there and feel disrespected by the 6.5-point spread. So we'll see what happens there. I was surprised, frankly. I thought it maybe be 1, 2, 3 points, because I am a sports gambler, right? That seems like a lot of points that Ohio State is going to get 6.5 points from a Clemson team that has not been as nearly as dominant this year as they were a couple years ago.
Score prediction time then. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I guess I may have already forgot what I said earlier, but
you said 35-31.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it, it's a 3 to 7 point Ohio State victory as we stand now. As we break down this matchup, I am reserving the right to change these predictions. I'll make a final one somewhere on the internet before.
If they announce tomorrow Justin Fields' thumb is broken.
Sure, or Chris Olave can't play because he was out for the Big Ten championship game, then that changes. But both teams at full strength, I think Ohio State is a half a touchdown better, right? 35-31.
I'm going to go Clemson 38-27. They've been more consistent. The only game they lost this year.
9 points. You're putting some money on the
11 points. 38-27.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen the consistency from Ohio State, and the schedule hasn't done them any favors where they've had to stop and start, whereas Clemson pretty much played throughout outside of that Florida State game getting scrapped in the middle of the season. They're fully healthy now. The one game they lost, they had 3 defensive starters out. Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing. They're playing their best football. I like the Tigers in a 11-point victory, 38-27.